removed his hat and his beautiful new Melton overcoat, which had the colour and the soft smoothness of a damson, he animadverted on the astounding negligence of women. There were Nelly, his wife, his mother, the nurse, the cook, the maid, 5 of them, and in his mind they had all plotted together a conspiracy of carelessness to leave the inexcusable tool in his lobby for him to stumble over. What was the use of accidentally procuring £341? Still no sign of Nelly, though he purposely made a noisy rattle with his ebon walking-stick. Then the maid burst out of the kitchen with a tray, and the principal utensils for high tea thereon. She had a guilty air. The household was evidently late. 2 steps at a time he rushed upstairs to the bathroom, so as to be waiting in the dining-room at 6 precisely, in order, if possible, to shame the household and fill it with remorse and unpleasantness. Yet ordinarily he was not a very prompt man, nor did he delight in giving pain. On the contrary, he was apt to be casual, blithe, and agreeable. The bathroom was his peculiar domain, which he was always modernizing, and where his talent for ingenious organization of comfort, and his utter indifference to aesthetic beauty, had the fullest scope. By universal consent, admitted to be the finest bathroom in the 5 Towns, it typified the whole house. He was disappointed on this occasion to see no untidy trace in it of the children's ablution. Some transgression of the supreme domestic law that the bathroom must always be free and immaculate when father wanted it would have suited his gathering humour. As he washed his hands and cleansed his well-trimmed nails with a nail-brush that had cost 5 shillings and 6pence, he glanced at himself in the mirror, which he was splashing. A stoutish, broad-shouldered, fair, chubby man, with a short, bright beard and plenteous, bright hair. His necktie pleased him, the elegance of his turned-back wristbands pleased him, and he liked the rich down on his forearms. He could not believe that he looked 43½, and yet he had recently had an idea of shaving off his beard, partly to defy time, but partly also, I must admit, because a friend had suggested to him, wildly perhaps, that if he dispensed with a beard, his hair might grow more sturdily. Yes, there was one weak spot in the middle of the top of his head, where the crop had of late disconcertingly thinned. The hairdresser had informed him that the symptom would vanish under electric massage, and that, if he doubted the bona fides of hairdressers, any doctor would testify to the value of electric massage. But now Edward Henry Machin, strangely discouraged, inexplicably robbed of the zest of existence, decided that it was not worth while to shave off his beard. Nothing was worth while. If he was 43½, he was 43½. To become bald was the common lot. Moreover, beardless, he would need the service of a barber every day, and he was absolutely persuaded that not a barber worth the name could be found in the 5 Towns. He actually went to Manchester, 36 miles, to get his hair cut. The operation never cost him less than a sovereign and half a day's time, and he honestly deemed himself to be a fellow of simple tastes. Such is the effect of the canker of luxury. Happily, he could afford these simple tastes, for, although not rich in the modern significance of the term, he paid income tax on some £5,000 a year, without quite convincing the surveyor of taxes that he was an honest man. He brushed the thick hair over the weak spot, he turned down his wristbands, he brushed the collar of his jacket, and lastly his beard, and he put on his jacket with a certain care, for he was very neat. And then, reflectively twisting his moustache to military points, he spied through the smaller window to see whether the new high hoarding of the football ground really did prevent a serious observer from descrying wayfarers as they breasted the hill from Hanbridge. It did not. Then he spied through the larger window upon the yard to see whether the wall of the new rooms which he had lately added to his house showed any further trace of damp, and whether the new chauffeur was washing the new motor-car with all his heart. The wall showed no further trace of damp, and the new chauffeur's bent back seemed to symbolize an extreme conscientiousness. Then the clock on the landing struck 6, and he hurried off to put the household to open shame. 2. Nelly came into the dining-room 2 minutes after her husband. As Edward Henry had laboriously counted these 2 minutes, almost second by second, on the dining-room clock, he was very tired of waiting.